Hello guys and welcome to our e-exam tutorial. In this short video, we'll talk about how to design sessions on the system. So when you go to session design, you need to select the author and subject you've previously added your questions and forms to. And you select the session type, whether it's official or practical. Make sure it's active so that you can activate the session on the system. Moving on, you can type the session name, for example, session 1. We need to select a start date and an end time or end date for the session. This means that no test takers can take the session before the start time and no test takers can take the session after the end time. When you select the dates, and make sure you select them properly and accurately, you move on to time zone. Select the proper time zone for the test takers, and then you select the session time, how much time totally the session is going to take. And you write the time here in minutes, and you move on to resume timeout in case of any possible interruptions or internet disconnectivity. When you write 30, this means you can go back to the session after 30 minutes. And how many numbers of retakes of the exam can this candidate take? You can have here an internet connection check and upload answer check. Then you click submit. Then you created the session. Now we need to add more information or design the session in more details. The features button enables you to control and edit the forms, for example, random forms or random questions, how you want to randomize or organize the questions in this session. Do you want to show answers or not show answers? Do you want to show results or not show results? Do you want this session to be mandatory answer type? Do you want it to have security locker validation? Do you want it to have a sender email? For example, this one here is a must, the sender email. Moving on, you need to use or have results sending, controlling watermark, score report, and choose a score report source. Here you select the helping tools that enable you to select the allowed tools used by the candidate since they cannot open any other application or window during the exam. You can have them select calculators, paint, notepads, dictionaries, as many helping tools as the session or the test requires. Moving on to the artificial intelligence, it controls the number of, it controls how often the system takes a snapshot. So if we write 2 here, this means the system takes a snapshot every 2 minutes. You also move on to voice recognition and matching percentage. We selected 70%. And if the candidate doesn't match, we selected warning, which means there will be a warning message sent. And the number of warnings we put here is 3. How many warnings will the candidate take before an action is taken? Then we have advanced face attributes, which helps in identifying the candidate's gender, age, emotions, etc. You can select that as well. We use the check-in box to decide how you want to check in, whether via fingerprint, via face print, or by signature. And you can select the matching percentage. Moving on is the device validation. You use it to select the devices that you will use during the exam. For example, will you select them by, will you validate by microphones, by cameras, by speaker, or by keyboard? You select which one you want and which one is required. That means it's a must. If you select keyboard here, for instance, you need to type a short keyboard test that will test the candidate or the test taker's keyboard. They see a paragraph and they type it in order to test the keyboard, as we've mentioned in our first tutorial. Moving on, we need to check the internet bandwidth for the candidate. We need to select which bandwidth is required and determine a certain width for the internet speed to avoid any internet errors during the exam. You can add forms by dragging and dropping them into the session. They're usually selected randomly on the system. You can add as many forms as you need. For example, we can drag this form right here. The Engine Instructions button shows you all the instructions and regulations of the test. You may need to edit the message that will be sent after the exam, or you may just need to add any regulations that you want the test taker to be aware of before the exam. You can select the font. You can play with it as much as you want. And like we mentioned, the end message at the exam is edited or added right here. Again, the sender email is necessary. This is our end message. We can copy paste. And then we can change the form if we want, or the font if we like. Moving on, we have pre-registered users. This helps the candidate take the tests from home as individuals without the need for proctors. You just select the start date and time and the end date and time, add user and the user ID on the system. Write any notes that you need this candidate to be aware of, and when you click Get User, you will get the ID, email, and the details of the candidate with their full name, mobile number, and nationality. If this is the person you're looking for, you click Add. And this allows them to take the test from home at the selected date and time. The Allow Proctors button gives permissions to proctors to control the session by using their ID. So here you search, just as you search for the candidates, you can also search for the proctors. You have their details, email, mobile, full name, nationality, ID number, and these are the proctors that you can use for this specific session. You can choose the allowed organizations via dragging and dropping them. These are the active organizations that you have on the system. And then we have the score report, which helps you choose the email used during the session to send a detailed report after the test session ends. Make sure you write the email correctly as the one you've written at the beginning of the session. As you can see, it's very easy to use, edit, or rewrite the email in case if it's wrong. On the schedules, are used for controlling the time frame of the session by pressing Apply Schedule. When you select the start date or time and end date or time, when you press Apply Schedule, you have the time frame controlled by which the candidate takes this test. Choose the language and country. You can select Arabic or English or any other language that you've added on the system. Country, Egypt, for example. Access types. And proctoring, whether it's proctor required. This means it's for online proctoring and checking if the candidate is cheating or if it's not the same person, and it helps in taking actions in case of cheating or in case that they do not match the ID of the test taker. This is how the proctor identifies if a candidate is not the right candidate, whether by using face or voice recognition. And what happens, they send a warning, and then after all is done, you press save. You can edit any details in the session if you like, including even the session name. Then your session is uploaded successfully. Thank you.